If you're trying to improve your chin-ups, you want to make sure you're not making these three crucial mistakes that I see people making when working on their chin-ups. Mistake number one, we want to initiate the movement with our upper back or scap retractors as opposed to initiating the movement with the elbows or the biceps. So what that looks like, as I start the movement, I think about pulling my elbows behind me or into my back pocket. That's going to utilize my strongest, best, most efficient pulling muscles in my upper back. So what that looks like is as I start to pull up, the elbows are behind me or my arms are close to my side, as opposed to the flip side of that would be the elbows going out in front of us too much, putting a lot of stress on the elbow joint. That's why a lot of times people end up with elbow tendonitis when they're doing pull-ups. So what that would look like would be as I'm pulling up, the elbows stay out in front of me as opposed to behind me. That's what mistake number one is. Mistake number two is going to be letting the hips pike out in front of us as opposed to keeping them underneath us. The goal here is to utilize our upper back muscles as much as possible. When the hips start coming out in front of us, almost in an L-sit position, that takes load off the scapula. That also slightly messes with our scapular mechanics. So as we're pulling ourselves to the top, we want to leave the hips underneath us the entire time, as opposed to as we're coming up, starting to lift the legs out in front of us. It's a regression on the movement. It makes the movement inferior. We want to challenge our scapula and load them to the utmost capability to challenge them the most. Mistake number three is going to be, as we're perfectly pulling ourselves to the top, we want to keep that retracted scapula position leading with our chest as opposed to collapsing into this internal rotation and rounding the shoulders at the top. So what a correct rep is going to look like is we're pulling ourselves all the way up to the top, so I'm leading with my chest, I have a proud chest. As opposed to, as I get up to the top, I round the shoulders and I let the chest cave forward. So we want to avoid that as much as possible and lead with the chest as we go up top. Putting it all together here, you can see each one of these cues plays off the next one. I went in the order I went in for a specific reason, because when you follow them in their specific order, it creates almost a snowball effect, propelling you to the top of the bar. What I mean by that is if we follow the order of scapular retraction, leaving the hips under us, following with the chest, it creates this ideal rep leading ourselves to the top, as opposed to the flip side or the incorrect variation of every version I covered. If I don't initiate the movement with my scapula, I let the elbows go out in front of me, it causes my hips to pike, causes my shoulders to round at the top. So you see each one of them follow a specific sequence for a reason, and they play off of each other. Be sure to focus on quality over quantity and really take these things into consideration when training your chin-ups.